Hi everybody, I got a interesting box in. So this is a box from a company called Photo Wall, and I'm just going to open it and I'll show you guys what we're going to do. Okay, so what I got is I got a print from this company called Photo Wall. And here's the cool part. Anybody who takes an order by April 29th will get 20% off with the coupon code Erin Reed Campaign 2018. It's right here. Erin Reed Campaign 2018. So go to the site, links are down below where you can find all the supplies that we're going to be using. This is just the first of many things that we're going to do to kind of create this really cool project. So what is this? Okay. You can go, and I picked out a specific graphic, but you can also upload. I'm going to show you the graphic I picked. You guys can see the hint of it right there. You can also upload your own graphics, and you can get them whatever size you want. There's all different sizes. In the United States, it's free shipping. So you get a coupon code, and it's free shipping. How awesome is that? There's other products there as well, but I picked out the canvas that comes with a frame, and so that's what this wood piece is right here. It's the frame. So let me open this up. So here, this is what this is. Now, what this is this is a canvas that's already been printed on here. It's got a black border, and it's got squares on it, which I think is absolutely amazing. And these remind me of, like, you know, I work with Seven Gypsies, and so these remind me very much of the Seven Gypsy kind of feel. And I want to alter it. I'm not going to change what's here. I'm going to add to it. Each one of these tiles is now, let me double check to see how big each of these are, so I know how much room I have to work with. So they're about 6.5 inches wide. I'm going to go with 6 inches and think smaller because I don't want to cover all of it up. And then we're going to adhere these. And then we're also going to assemble our frame. To see the full scale of what this looks like, take a look at the picture I saw online. And I picked one that's 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters. I wanted a nice big something to work with. But you don't have to pick something that big. You can pick all the way down to about a 12 by 12 if you want to work with something like that. You can also upload any of your own graphics or your own art that you've created or your own pictures that you've taken. So you could do this with, like, your family photos. You take a photo and then they can do that for you. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I have my canvas upside down, and so the print image is facing the direction. And since I have a square, they're all the same size. When you get your boards that comes from Photo Wall, what you do is you just kind of peel off the sticky piece that's right here. And therefore, the wood is already sticky, and it's pretty sticky. I have figured out that since I've put 2 of them on, I can kind of finagle the placement of it, even though it's been stuck. I'm just not pushing really hard. There's a little lip on the inside of the wood that you want to place on the inside, so not facing outward, inward. And then right on the edge of the poster or the art piece, whatever you're doing, is where you want to place this wood. So it's right up against that edge. And then there's these little flappy pieces. You guys can't see this very well, so I'm going to turn it as a corner. These little flappy pieces right here, these come up and you stick them. So there's actually a little bit of sticky right here as well. This piece just didn't come off. And so this little piece comes up, and it's what gives you a corner. And eventually these are going to lay down, and that's what gives you that corner. So I'm rotating it just to make my life easier. So peel off the tape that is on here. Let's take this and peel this off. And that becomes trash. And then just line it up right against that edge, and making sure that both of those little edges are exposed, those little flaps. So see what I mean? I'm moving it around, even though it's kind of getting stuck. I still have a little bit of wiggle room, and then I just kind of come in and press when I get it on there. So again, lift up that little flap and stick that down. This is a very, very big project, so I'm having a hard time trying to get it all on the screen. Okay, so from here, now I come in and I lay these down, and it's going to basically turn into a big giant square, as you can see. So it's not wanting to stick together because it's pulling this and it's creating a tight texture. And in the box that I got this little package, and in here it came with these bracket pieces. So I have 4 brackets and a whole bunch of these little screw pieces. So take these, line these up, put my bracket in place, and then you take your little screw and you screw it in. So I take the first screw. I don't want to screw them in too tight because you want to get it lined up. Take your second screw, and there's 4 screws per bracket. So basically I just want to kind of get these all in here, and then I don't want to have them super tight. I want to get to the point where they're kind of in there, and I'm going to go ahead and do the other 3. All right, so I got all the brackets in place. I did have one that was a little bit misaligned, and so I kind of pulled it back and I recentered it, and that actually worked really well. So now all I need to do is kind of go in and do a couple turns on each of these screws, going all the way around, just kind of going concentrically. I don't want to have one be super tight before the others. So I'm just tightening them up, and as I do that, the whole thing is getting cinched in. So I'm going to keep on doing this until I can't turn them anymore. So all this information about how to set this up is completely on this, and it tells you step by step what you do. I mean, it's really quite simple once you kind of get it going. So what you're doing when you're tightening all these screws is you're creating a compression fit. And so the tighter you can get them and get them all nice and sealed, make sure there's not a gap in here, the better your whole frame and canvas is going to be. So we're going to flip it over and see the big reveal. So there it is. Nice tight frame canvas. It's doing really well. I mean, I love the way it's going to have a little bit of some give, but it's on there nice and tight. There's no warping. It's really quite cool. And you can just see a hint of that black. So there's that black edge that's right here, which is beautiful. So it's not a raw wood edge on your wall when you hang it. Okay, so now that that's done, this is step 1. Now you could leave this just the way it is, hang this. It's a beautiful product. There's so many different images that you can get from Photo Wall. And don't forget, you do have a coupon code, which I showed you at the beginning. It's also going to be at the bottom. So I am going to alter mine. I decided that I'm not just going to get something and then hang it on my wall. You can also send in pictures, which I think is pretty cool, but we're going to alter this, and I'm going to pull out some supplies and show you what my plan is. All right, so as you can see, I've created like these little 4 corners, and then there's one in the center. So this is my way. I'm going to pull it down so you guys can see the top one. So here's the top 2. They're just rough assembled. I kind of put together what my concept was, and then we have the bottom 2 down here. So what my plan is that each one of these little squares that is on here, and I'm going to leave these ones blank. I originally thought maybe I would put something in all 4, but I couldn't come up with any more ideas without starting to get too matchy-matchy with what's happening on there. So my concept is that I have 4 children, so each one of the 4 corners represents a child, and something on there means something to me about them. And then the one in the center, it represents the entire family. So that's kind of where I was going with that. I don't have any words. They're all symbols or shapes or pieces. And so let's start putting these guys together. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is the family one. And I kind of wanted to keep it simple because I wanted you to focus on all the other stuff. And for every single one of these, I have started with a canvas square that is a 4x4. So not canvas, sorry, burlap. So I've taken a burlap square, which is a 4x4 square, and I just cut them off of actually one 12x12 square. And almost all the products we're going to be playing with here, I think pretty much every product we're playing with here, is one that came from Canvas Core brands. So Seven Gypsies, Canvas Core, or Tattered Angels, which is one of the first ones we're going to be playing with. Okay, so I am pulling all these little pieces out. I want to give it a little bit of a frayed edge. The look to me, and this is partly why I picked that particular canvas, it struck me as just being so cool because it had that whole Seven Gypsies vibe. And then immediately I was like, oh, I could add things on top of those squares on the canvas, and that's where I was going with it. Okay, so this is the new color wash paint. I've actually had this for a while and I've not had a chance to use it yet. And so I am going to try it. And since the color of all the different tiles that are on that canvas there's some blues, there's some greens, and those are kind of my favorite colors, blues and greens, we're going to use this to paint. So you just basically, and I have this little wooden piece here, and this stuff is made to go with wood. And it just helps keep the look of the wood, but give it a cool color. So I'm going to add a couple layers. I really want to get a nice good coat on here. I want it to have that vintagey look. It's got a little shimmer inside of it. This one that we're using right now is called Verdigris. So it's very pretty. And the wood is going to be able to shine through, and then it's also going to be able to have that grain of the wood but be the color, which I think is cool. And it's picking up darker in one area and lighter in the other, and that's just what the wood wants to do, which I think is kind of cool. All right, I got this little paint puck thing, that's what it's actually called, and it's supposed to go into a jar. I got this while I was at a convention up in Dallas not too long ago. And what it's supposed to do is help clean your brush without you having to like scrape your brush up against like a paper towel or something and ruin your bristles. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water. I have it in my water bottle here. Pour it in. And there's versions for oil, but I only got the watercolor one. And you just basically move it around in here, and it goes up around the little nubs and bristles that are in there, and it helps clean your brush off. I think it's great, and it is clean, clean, clean. There's nothing coming off of my hand that has any kind of color. That is fabulous. So I have a new way to clean my brushes. Ta-da! Okay, so now we're going to be doing our layering. So we're going to add layers of textures and whatnot. This is the center one, and I'm going to let this, give this a couple seconds to dry, and while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and glue this down. I'm going to do the same thing. I pretty much clean this guy up. But I'm going to take my scissors and just kind of clean up some of these little pieces. I kind of want to look a little bit more frayed. Make sure there's not any pieces sticking out like that. You know, I want the look, but I don't want to have a big dangle. And burlap can fray a little bit, so I'm happy with the way that looks. Here we go. Put that right in the center. We're going to use a good quality craft glue to hold everything together. So I'm going to pull out my Helmar craft glue and just use this to stick everything to everything. This is pretty fast drying, and it works with all different types of materials and fabrics and woods and all the different pieces of stuff that I have here. It'll make everything stick together really well. All right, so that goes on there. And my plan is to assemble all these 5 squares and then bring my canvas back once all the pieces are dried and glue them onto the canvas. I'll take my little heart here. And this piece is the simplest piece that I have yet. All right, and that one is done. So let's just go oldest to youngest. My oldest is my son. And I kind of rough did all these pieces, and that's why there's lots of layers on here. For the most part, I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of painting here. I'm going to leave things kind of in their natural state. And again, I'm going to do my fraying. I'm going to speed that up for you. Now, if you want to keep some of these fun little guys, they could be used for all different kinds of projects. I don't think I'm going to use them for anything on this today, but it does have the potential for if you're ever working and you're pulling apart burlap and stuff, that you can save it for future projects or using that project, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, this is a piece of tissue paper that comes from the Seven Gypsies line, and I loved it because it reminded me of my son because it's full of numbers and he's very analytical. He thrives on numerical anything. So that really spoke to me about him. Every little piece of something on here has something that relates to that kid. And then he thinks very linear in so many ways. And I just love the look of all these little squares and then the offset of this one right here. But then I also wanted to add in, and everybody's got it on their page in some way, shape, or form, something that's wrapped and it's kind of binding everything together. So in my mind, it's kind of like what the unity that binds. There's a lot of symbolism in this project. So everybody's got some piece of twine that is being wrapped up. I almost want to off-center all of these. That would look really cool. Yeah, I like that better. See, sometimes you're just going to have to play. First I was thinking very linear, but then no, I don't want to do that. And partly artistically I like it better, but also because kids, they go everywhere. And I know this is not something that's going to be, they're going to have to be kids forever, but it's, in my mind, he'll always be a kid in some ways. I mean, he's only 12, so I might change my mind as time goes along. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of some glue, stick it on here just to kind of give it a place to start, and then I'm going to start wrapping. And just wrap and give that cool texture. this glue is going to be pretty fast drying, but I got to give it a second to kind of give it its second to get there. And then I'm going to do another dab of glue right here. So the hardest part, and I did this off camera, was deciding what goes on each square. The assembly of each square was quite fast. I mean, I spent a good 2 hours kind of, my table was full of supplies. I mean, it was crazy. There's so much stuff out here on my desk. And, you know, I always have these grandiose ideas that, oh, you know, and you think that you need way more supplies than you do. But one of the methods to my madness is I pull all the things out that I think, all the colors that will work, all the supplies that I think that will function with that particular project, and I lay them all out. See, now it's pretty much set. And then I start assembling each square. And at first it was going to be 9 squares, and I dropped it down to just being the 6, or the 5, sorry, one for each kid, and then one is Unity. Originally I also thought maybe one for my husband and I was like, no, it's the kids and then us as a family. I like that concept better. Okay, I want this to be skewed. Actually, we're going to do this. Moment of thought here. We're going to put this one down in the middle first and then have the grate go on top of it. See, sometimes you think and you're like, oh, what about that? So that goes there. And this one, I want to go a different direction but still fit. This is too much. There we go. See, look at that. And then it looks like this piece, you can still see the winding. And then this one will go up and down like that. So instead of me sitting here holding my fingers, it's the last piece that's going on here. I am going to take something heavy and put this over top of it so it just kind of rests. So I'm going to actually take my color wash bottle, left aside, and then just that on top of there. And it gives it that needed something to sit down. Now moving on to my second child. There's a purpose for the wings. This is my daughter who has passed, and I wanted to put the wings in there, and she's always going to be my daughter, and I like to include her whenever I do anything that's about the family. So again, I have my burlap piece. I'm going to fringe it out. All right, I don't want to over fringe this one. Again, I'm going to keep them all as squares. I don't think I'm going to do any of them as diamonds because I've got enough different elements going on. I found this really pretty lace, and the lace is also from 7 Gypsy. And I forgot to mention the wood pieces actually came from a company I worked with years ago, and I don't even think they're still around. All right, so I think I am going to cut my lace so it's just kind of sitting on there. I don't want it to be too aligned. I need to get my better scissors. Those are my, use them for so much stuff. This is my fabric scissors. They work a heck of a lot better. So there's that little piece sitting there. Take some glue, just roughly put a few dots of glue on here. There we go. I just want it to sit on top. And then I have this little heart that actually came with a whole bunch of burlap pieces so you can make tags, again from Canvas Core. And it's a chalkboard piece, but I just love the heart shape on the black. I thought it was so cool. Oh, and again, we have our ribbons. This one I'm going to wrap around, going different directions around my heart. It's hard when you have a shape that's not your typical square or circle for it to wrap around to, so that should work. Okay, I like that. Oop, that came a little loose. So if it falls down, like this one doesn't want to stay, there we go. And then what you can do on the back side, because I'm going to glue it down anyway, is that everywhere there's a piece of your twine that's wrapped around, that's where you add your glue, and so when you stick it down to the next object, it will be stuck and it won't shift on you. So that's going to go in the center here. Really get that down. And I know I have this little piece, but we're actually going to be putting these wings. These wings came from the 7 Gypsies Architectures line, and I just thought they were so cool. They're stickers, but they have a cool texture to them. I mean, they're just really cool. And I'm going to line it up so that it's covering up that little hole because it was supposed to be a tag. I don't want it to be a tag. So we're just going to line this up right here. And I felt like it needed something in the center, and I found this cool clothespin, so I thought that would be fun to place right there. So that's just going to go right smack in the middle. And again, clothespins come from Canvas Core. I don't know if this one did because it's got a design on it, but I just thought it was cool with the gray on there. It just kind of fit. It actually functions as a clothespin, but I'm not going to use it like that. It's just a center. Something kind of cool to line it all up. All right. And then let that move off the side. And look how fast and easy these are. So cute. I love them. Now moving on to my son. All right, so I wanted to do something with this bird, and I think I'm going to make it into like something gold. So this is another high impact paint from Tattered Angels. This one is actually an antique gold, and I thought it fit really well with the kind of the vibe of the projects and all the things. Come in, and I am just going to paint up my bird. I've had this bird. Oh, geez. It came in a pack with all these fun different shapes. It had swirls. It had Eiffel Towers. I'm picking up burlap pieces in my bird. I don't know if I like that or not. I'm trying to decide. It gives the bird a little bit of a rustic feel. I don't know. I'm going to probably do a couple coats on this. I think I'm going to pull them off. But that set, that chipboard set, whatever you want to call it, the company who made it is not even in business anymore. 10 years? Something like that. It's kind of crazy. I keep it in my chipboard stash. So I saw it. I was like, this is perfect. So this is for my other son. This is for my second son, second oldest or youngest son, whatever you want to call him. He's my third. And I don't know, the bird spoke to me on him. Something about the fact that he always he loves to just get out and do stuff, and he's not afraid to leave the nest. He was when he was little, he was my runner. I almost considered getting him one of those little kid backpacks because he would just go. He's the one that if we're going to go on a hike or something, or if we're out somewhere, he will go as far as he can, and we have to remind him that we have to be able to see him the whole time. So he goes, he flies, and he's fast. So I think that's where the bird came from. Actually, I don't know if this is going to need a second coat. I think it's looking pretty good. There we go. I like that. I like the look of where that is right now. I gotta let that dry. So it's gonna put it off to the side. I might have to wait putting this on here and come back and clean my brush again, going in all these little nooks and crannies. And that paint's pretty thick, so let's see how well this thing works. That's awesome. That actually worked really well. And look, my paintbrush is clean again. That is so cool. I don't even have to run to my sink to clean my paintbrushes anymore. I have that little guy. Yay. Okay. So as you can see, I've got my original burlap. And again, I'm going to pull the pieces out. I'm just going to pull a couple this time. So I have that. And then I also pulled a piece of green burlap. So not only can you get the burlap pieces in natural from Canvas Core, you can get a whole bunch of colors. And this one happens to be this beautiful hunter green. And I cut it way too long because this needs to fit. I want it to be a little bit longer, but that's just overly long. And I need it to fit on those squares. And again, I'm going to pull some of the pieces out of this. They also have these little canvas shapes that you can get, which I think are pretty fun. And I just thought this was kind of cool. It looks almost like it's like a shield. I mean, there's a special name for this. It escapes me right now, but it looks like a shield. And I just love the feeling of that. And so we're going to wrap, and I pulled out a different color of green because on that canvas, there's multiple colors of the green. Do the same thing again, put a little dab of glue, and then just wrap this piece up. And just like before, wherever there's a little piece, because there's kind of some corners, add a little dab of glue. I gotta glue this thing down anyway, but it'll just help secure all these twines. And it's kind of hard when you're wrapping something that's also soft, because you don't want to, you have a fine line between, you want it to look like it's purposefully wrapped around and nice and tight and not loose, but then you also don't want to pull the project and make it look like it's cinching up on itself. All right, so these little guys are going to bug me, so we're going to get rid of them. And instead of just checking my bird, nope, still not there. It's close, but instead of just placing the bird in the middle, I thought it needed a little something. So I pulled out these little wooden pieces, these triangles, and this was purely a design aesthetic here. This wasn't anything to do with my son and being triangular. I just felt like it needed a little something. So we're going to glue these down up here in the corner. And then I'm going to hold off on adding this piece because I don't want to mess up and get paint on here. So we're going to go ahead and put this off to the side right now too. And just to make sure those little wooden pieces, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this little paint jar and just kind of set it up on top of the wood just to give it something to help kind of stick it down. All right, the last one we have is we have my daughter and my youngest, and I let her kind of pick some of her pieces out. So this piece came from a bigger piece. It was a full circle, and I just cut a corner of it out. This is just a sheet of paper, which I'm going to fray the edges. Everything is kind of distressed looking, and I want to do that. So I'm just going to distress the edges here. So all I'm doing is taking the edge of my scissors and just rubbing it up against and giving it a little bit of a frayed edge here, a little border. There's tools out there that do this for you, but I've tried them all, and I always go back to my scissors because they're right there and I don't have one less thing to pull out. And I used to do this so much to all my different scrapbook pages and some of my cards that I made. I haven't done that technique in a long time. Throwback to my days of first starting out scrapbooking. I just stressed the edges of everything. I would usually ink the edges, but I want to leave it soft. So I'm kind of in that I don't want to overdo it phase. The next step is I'm going to take this piece before I glue everything down, and I'm going to just add this to the corner. I just love the look of this. It is so cool. All right, before it just adds the softness. It's kind of like, ooh, is there something there? That's kind of nifty. All right, I am then going to take the twine for her, and I did do the girls in the same color, and then the boys each got a different color. That was not on purpose. It was just what I went for. I was pulling colors that matched, and truthfully, my daughter would have picked a pink, but there's no pinks per se. There's kind of like a faint red, but it's not a pink. And it would just look funny all of a sudden throwing another color onto there because that's what she really would have wanted. This time I'm going to go just vertically with my wrapping and just kind of staying in this one side. And I also have my craft mat down because I'm out doing all my painting and stuff, but also because the burlap's got a little bit of a hole in the back per se. It's got, you know, it's very porous. So as I'm adding my glue, I don't want to get glue all on my black mat. So that's why I have it, and I can easily clean it off my craft mat so you can see it kind of pulling through. But you're never going to see that part. So here we go. Just adding that on there. And then I found this little circle. This is like this old grunge board that I've had for ages. Some of the stuff I've had for so long and I'm finally using, and some of these pieces are brand new, like the color wash. And this is finally dry. And it's down now. It's stuck down, which is fantastic. So I just thought, you know, it needs something. If I just stuck the fairy there, it would look kind of weird. It needs something to sit on. But I think I want to color this, and I got to think about that. So I actually have another bottle of this color wash. This is brass, and it just fits within that color tone. So I think that's just so pretty. So again, I'm going to come in, move all this off to the side so I don't get everything else with stuff on it. And we're just going to paint this. Should have done it first, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so this is what the color wash looks like on the grunge board. It's kind of picking up some of that texture, which I think it was missing. You didn't get that texture without painting it or doing something to it. It's just giving it a little bit of a color to it. It's kind of fun. I love that. Come in, use my little paint puck and my water here, clean my brush off. Man, that's so fast. I love that. Super clean brush. Ooh. All right. Cover this so I don't get it. And I didn't do a very good job of picking up all the little color and glimmer on the bottom there, partly because this is so shiny. I didn't want to get shine and then shine and shine. I kind of want to separate a little bit. All right, I got to let this dry a tad before I add on my sticker and glue it down. So let's check my bird. See where my bird's at. Oh, bird's good. It's dry. So let's go ahead and glue my bird down. And it's just going to kind of sit right there. So the tail, I'm not going to worry about putting any glue on the end of the tail. I just need to get the body and the head for the most part, because otherwise it's going to have glue and then have nothing to stick to. And I don't want it to warp because it's pretty much sticking to this little shield piece right here. Just going to come in, This is why I really needed to make sure that bird was right. It's still a tiny, tiny bit tacky, but it's fine. It's not having a problem. And then there is that. But this is still not dry. Yeah, I'm going to use my hand. There we go. The color wash is such a lightweight paint. It's very faint. Kind of getting it on my hands now, but I actually like the way that it's giving it some more texture. So then we're going to come in, and it's just giving it another color on there because it's really lack of color happening on this particular tile. And then I'm going to stick, and my daughter picked out the fairy. She thought the fairy was the coolest thing ever. Truly, if I had my thought, I would have done the tile in, or this circle in a color that was more like silver, but the fairy silver, so it would stand out. And I didn't want to leave it gray because the fairy doesn't pop. Now, because this is still wet, the sticker is not sticking on there. This is also part of the architecture's line. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the glue, mostly because this is just not dry and it doesn't want to stick to something that's not dry. So I'm just giving a little something to stick to, and then add glue to the back of my circle here. And it's going to help hold all these strings in place too. So that is my daughter's. And I left, you know, I didn't put initials, I didn't put names on here, I didn't put a letter, I just left it as more of an image. Okay, so same thing with this one. I'm going to take the color wash paint and use that as a basis to kind of stick it down. I'm going to give everything a little bit of time to kind of dry and settle before I stick it to my canvas. Okay, so I've got my pieces. This is the top that you can see where my oldest, my second, the family one. And then down here, I gotta finagle this. This is just a little bit big for my board, so you guys can see it, is my third and my fourth child. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the bottom just because it's a little easier for me. And I'm just going to use this exact same glue. I'm going to come in, kind of give it a 4 square, and then come in on the tile and then center it on that tile. And then just put it right on there like that. I also wanted to be very careful about not making each one of these tiles heavy so it didn't pull on the canvas. And they're very, very light. That's why I didn't put a whole lot of metals, and I stuck with fabrics and things like that. I also was kind of aware of what colors, so hence like the brassy color that's in here, it kind of ties in with the tile that she's on. The green, because he's on green, and there's different colors of different shades of green. It all works really well. This lime green kind of ties in with some other colors here. So I was very much aware of the color scheme that was happening within each of the squares as I was designing the squares prior to filming. Just making sure I come in here in the center. I'm going to turn this sideways to get this guy here. You know, there's the blue one here and there's the blue. So there's definitely, you know, what I would call my favorite colors on here, the blues and the greens. I'll lay them all on here. Come in and get this last one in the corner. And the fun thing is that if I ever decide that I want to complete the squares and add something that's just fun and more design, I can come back and I can do the last 4. That's not a problem. It's very easy to pull this off of a wall and add to it. And so there we go. This is my cool frame thing that came from PhotoWall. Don't forget, down below is a link for you to get a code, and there's free shipping in the United States. This is pretty awesome. It is awesome quality. It was very simple to put together, and you don't have to pick one of their designs. You can actually pick designs of a picture that you upload or a piece of artwork that you've made and you want to have put as a screen print. So it's very, very cool. It's got a really cool feel of durability on here, and I love the fact that I could take something and then add my own twist to it and then layer on top of it. Turn this into a one-of-a-kind piece of artwork that's going to be in my house. I just got to figure out where I'm going to put it now. So it's quite large. It's 50 centimeters. You can also pick this exact same graphic, but you could size it to whatever you want. You don't have to pick the 50 centimeters. They come in a variety of sizes, and you can scale them. And if centimeters, you can't quite wrap your head around that, you can convert it to inches. So all the links are down below for also all the other pieces of equipment that I've used, all the tools and supplies for as much as I can find. Some of these things are pretty old. I don't even know if I can find that bird anymore, but I will do my best to find what I can and link for you. And don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Not yourself, but yeah, give yourself a thumbs up, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.